Before 2016, the United Kingdom was the financial centre of Europe, serving as the main gateway for global investment into the European Union and as a G7 member with a GDP per capita of about 43,000 US dollars. Poland, although reformed after the Soviet era, still reached only around 12,500 US dollars per capita and was viewed as a low-cost manufacturing base with a modest role in Europe's value chain. By 2023, this order was being reversed. Brexit caused Britain to lose around 4% of its long-term GDP, and exports to the EU fell by between 15 and 20%. In contrast, Poland attracted more than 245 billion euros from EU funds, nearly quadrupled its per capita GDP, and became the leading FDI destination in Eastern Europe. Poland is now becoming the homecoming place for workers who once left. If this trend continues, by 2030, Polish citizens may surpass Britons in purchasing power, adjusted income within this decade. How has something that once seemed impossible become reality? In 1913, the British Empire was a global superpower controlling about 23% of the world's population, with the pound sterling serving as the primary reserve currency until the US dollar replaced it after World War II. By the end of the 20th century, the United Kingdom remained one of the West's economic leaders, both as a G7 member and as Europe's financial hub. During Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher's tenure, the British economy shifted from industrial manufacturing to financial services. By 2010, manufacturing accounted for only about 11% of GDP, compared with 25% in 1980. London became Europe's financial heart, responsible for 35% of the EU's wholesale financial activity and about 75% of all foreign exchange and interest rate derivative trading before Brexit. In 1990, Britain's GDP per capita was around 19,000 US dollars, while Poland's was only about 1,700. At that time, the average Briton was over 10 times wealthier than the average Pole. The United Kingdom possessed a world-class education system, a robust legal framework, and considerable global soft power, representing a Western economic model during the acceleration of globalisation. In contrast, Poland entered the 1,992nd from a very low starting point. During World War II, the country lost about 6 million people, more than 20% of its pre-war population, one of the highest proportions in the world. After the war, Poland became a Soviet satellite state governed by an inefficient planned economy. By the late 1982nd, the Polish economy had fallen into deep crisis. Production had stagnated, goods were scarce, and hyperinflation reached 640% in 1989 and about 585% in 1990. In response, the government launched the Balcerowicz Plan, a shock therapy program that liberalised prices, privatised state enterprises, reformed taxes, and retained the zloty to maintain monetary flexibility. The short-term consequences were severe. GDP fell for 3 consecutive years, industrial output dropped by more than 25%, unemployment rose from 0.3 to over 16%, and millions of people fell into poverty. However, inflation declined rapidly from hundreds of percent to below 10% by the late 1990s, laying the groundwork for long-term growth. In 1990, few believed that a country emerging from Soviet control with only 1/10 of Britain's income and a collapsing economy could ever catch up with a global financial power. Yet that gap began to narrow through reform, determination, and ambition. Since the Thatcher era, Britain has pursued a city-centric model that prioritises finance while neglecting traditional industry. Today, financial services contribute more than 10% of GDP, but employ only about 3% of the workforce, showing extreme concentration and limited spillover effects. Since 2010, manufacturing productivity has stagnated, widening the gap with Germany and France. Regional inequality has also deepened. London's productivity is 2.5 to 3 times higher than that of the North East or Wales, while former industrial regions still face unemployment and deteriorating public services. The British economy has fallen into a de-industrialisation trap, dependent on industrial imports from the EU and China, and increasingly losing technological and defence manufacturing capacity. After the 2008 financial crisis, the Cameron government adopted austerity measures to reduce the fiscal deficit. Public investment was cut from 3.5% of GDP to just 1.8% within a few years. As a result, railways aged, housing shortages worsened, the energy grid weakened, and hospitals became overcrowded, all of which undermined productivity. Financial markets also suffered. The London Stock Exchange lost more than 30% of its listed companies after 2016, as many domestic and international firms shifted to New York or Amsterdam for better access to capital. Before 2016, Britain served as the most attractive entry point for global companies into Europe, and nearly half of all US firms based their EU headquarters in London. After Brexit, the United Kingdom lost access to the single market and faced new trade barriers and legal uncertainty. Net foreign direct investment fell by 46%, and exports to the EU declined by 15 to 20%, eliminating one of the main drivers of growth. The Bank of England estimates that the long-term level of GDP is about 4% lower than it would have been had the UK remained in the EU. The end of free movement also created severe labour shortages. The country lacks more than 100,000 truck drivers, nearly 200,000 restaurant workers, and tens of thousands of nurses in the National Health Service, all of whom previously came mainly from the EU. The United Kingdom faces a housing shortage of around 2.5 million homes, and the average house price is 8.6 times the median annual income, especially in London and the South East. At the same time, the National Health Service is under strain, universities face funding shortfalls, and child poverty is rising. Public frustration is spreading. Surveys show that Britons are losing confidence in the government, in the future, and in their country's global role. Many analysts describe this as a state of empire's fatigue, a situation where a former empire is not conquered by force, but instead decays slowly and silently. The empire didn't fall in a day, it rusted in silence. Britain's withdrawal from the European Union left a power vacuum within Europe, and Poland was the country that seized this opportunity most effectively and systematically. After Brexit removed London's role as Europe's financial and investment gateway, Poland quickly emerged as a promising alternative. According to EY's 2025 report, Poland now attracts 259 foreign direct investment projects, the highest number in Eastern Europe and among the top 6 in Europe as a whole. Warsaw and Krakow have become major fintech and technology centres, with companies such as JP Morgan, HSBC, Intel, Shell, LG, Chem and Toyota investing billions of dollars. Intel alone announced a $4.6 billion semiconductor plant in Rockwall, a clear sign of Poland's growing high-tech capability. Poland has also witnessed the return of more than 300,000 citizens who once worked in the United Kingdom and across Europe. They bring back skills, experience and capital that now fuel domestic entrepreneurship and productivity. While Britain faces labour shortages after Brexit, Poland is gaining skilled workers from Western Europe. Poland's domestic fundamentals are strong enough to absorb these inflows. Maintaining the zloty allows the country to pursue independent monetary policy, which is a major advantage compared with Eurozone members. Public debt is around 55 to 60% of GDP, much lower than in Britain or Germany, giving the government room for investment and macroeconomic stability. With a population of 38 million, larger than that of Czechia, Hungary and Slovakia combined, Poland offers a sizable domestic market attractive to investors. The 245 billion euros in EU funds received between 2004 and 2023 accelerated modernisation, adding more than 5,000 kilometres of new highways, hundreds of industrial parks and special economic zones, and the nationwide Digital Poland program that expanded internet and technology infrastructure. Manufacturing accounts for about 18 to 20% of GDP, almost double the share in the United Kingdom. The information technology sector is thriving, employing over 430,000 professionals and graduating about 66,000 STEM students each year. Poland ranks 4th in the world in video game exports and is emerging as a centre for artificial intelligence. Defence spending exceeds 4.7% of GDP, the highest within NATO, supporting not only national security but also a dual-use industrial base that serves both civilian and military production. Polish society is young and dynamic, with an unemployment rate of roughly 2.9%, one of the lowest in the European Union. According to the OECD, its labour force is upgrading skills faster than anywhere else in Europe, which contrasts sharply with Britain's skill shortages and ageing population. These factors together create an inverse dynamic. When Britain steps back, Poland steps forward. When Britain loses confidence in integration, Poland uses integration to strengthen itself. As Europe's economic and political gravity shifts, Poland stands out as a model of adaptability and resilience. The story of Britain and Poland is not only about one nation in decline and another on the rise. It reflects a larger transformation in Europe's economic balance, moving from old, wealthy but stagnant empires toward ambitious, adaptive, emerging economies. The United Kingdom was once the world's gateway to Europe, a financial and educational powerhouse whose legacy as an empire remains undisputed. Yet strategic complacency culminating in Brexit fractured that foundation. Britain did not lose everything overnight, it eroded over decades. Poland, on the other hand, had no historical privilege and few natural advantages. Its success came from decisive actions at critical moments, comprehensive post-Soviet reforms, timely EU accession, and smart investment in people and infrastructure. Most importantly, it rose by turning others' decline into opportunity. If current trends continue, Poland could surpass Britain in per capita GDP by 2030 and become a new hub of manufacturing, technology, and security in continental Europe. Warsaw may never replace London in symbolism or history, but it could match it in real economic influence. From a periphery shattered by war, Poland is moving into a position once reserved for Western European powers. When empires stop renewing themselves, they are replaced by nations with nothing to lose and everything to rebuild. Empires do not fall when they lose wars, they fall when they stop reinventing, and Poland never stopped. Thank you for watching to the end of this video. If you found this analysis useful, please subscribe, share, and leave a comment so more people can understand the silent crisis shaping our future.